or the voice goes off, that's kind of where it's coming from.
Same with me. We're live.
Yeah, we're live. Welcome to the news episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Deep Mood, with my normal co-host Hunter. And we're going to be talking about Week 1, the NFL season, Week 2 of the NFL season, and then we're going to be talking some college football as well. So let's go with let's go with Virginia Tech football. What were your thoughts this week, last week, the whole season in general?
Yeah. So just to put it out there for everyone, in case we sound a little off, we're both recovering from COVID. I got it on Tuesday, Wednesday. Feeling a lot better now, to say the least. Wednesday, I was just stuck in Wednesday and Thursday. I was stuck in bed. But I was in Aruba for the game last week. Indeed, pretty good performance, I thought, against Boston College. They didn't really do anything in the run or passing game, and then this week, you're up 27-0 going into the fourth quarter. That's a team you should beat comfortably. Even a 20-point spread for this team, I think that's fine. This is not a good Virginia Tech team. We all know that. People are going to be mad at that this was not a 40-7 win, a 48-7 win, something like that. But you know what? There's not a lot of talent on the offense right now. I think people need to understand that. And the talent that is there, it hasn't gotten a chance to properly develop yet. So yeah, it may look a little bit weird that you're only beating an FCS school who had scored no points coming into this week by 20 points, 27-7.
And the only points they scored was off the third string defensive line.
It was literally a garbage time touchdown. Nobody should care. I'm sorry. If the starters were in there, they probably do not score that touchdown. So I don't really care at that point. Excuse me. They did what they needed to do. They got the win. They're 2-1 now. I thought Grant Wells played really well today. That's the kind of play I want to see from a starting quarterback. I thought Caleb Smith had a good game. Jaden Blue, I thought, also had a really good game as well. Bryce Duke, the talented freshman running back, he looked really solid on the ground. I think he could be making the case to get a lot more carries moving forward. I really like his play. He went to Tuscarora. I'm at my parents' house for the next couple of weeks, if not a bit longer. And that's about 15, 20 minutes down the road. He was very, very good. The defense, I've been very impressed with Brent Pry's unit through 3 games. I know, I get it. Not the best competition. The West Virginia is going to be the best comp that he's seen this season on Thursday. That's going to be a heck of a game. But I like what he's doing on that side of the ball. Tywone Garbett also didn't play today. I think people need to understand that. I think they wanted to hold him out. I think Keyshawn King didn't play either.
Yeah,
but I know the offense also looks vanilla at times. I get it. I do. It's again, there's not a lot of talent there. Tyler Bowen, they're trying to run between the tackles maybe a little too much. I don't like that they go shotgun runs on 4th and short. Excuse me. Honestly, I don't like that any team does that. I think it's just a cowardly way to call it. What do you say?
Especially when you have Blumrick.
Yes, that's a really good point as well. You can just go under center in those kind of situations. But at the end of the day, they did what they needed to do. They got the win, and they got the win last week. Defense played really well. The offense did enough. And they're 2-1. And now, that loss to ODU, you can basically just wipe that away. And if I recall correctly, last I checked, ODU and UVA were in a pretty good fight in Charlottesville. Yeah, it is only 10-7 Virginia in the fourth quarter. And that's in Charlottesville. So definitely maybe a bit of a down year for Virginia schools. But again, they're 2-1. Should they be 3-0? Yes. I think they should be 3-0 going into this game. Absolutely. But, they're not. You take the wins, we get them, and now you have to move forward for the game on Thursday against West Virginia for the Black Diamond Trophy. I am sure Lane Stadium is going to be a madhouse for that contest. Adit, what were your thoughts about today's game and last week's?
I think Wells has he's definitely played more efficiently last couple games.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like in today's game, he spread the ball to 8 different receivers. So I think, and that's great to see because last few years it was 2 receivers. It was mainly 2 guys, and that was it. So I like that. I like the defense. You're right. We got lucky that Chamari Connor didn't get the targeting call because he would have been out for the first half of the West Virginia game, which would suck. Dax Hollifield has shown why he was a 4-star recruit. So I do like what we have there. I mean, you're right. Bryce Duke, at the very least, could very well be a special teamer. I could see him being on kickoff returns if you need DJ Harvey to play more corner. So, I mean, they do have the pieces are there. This is still a developing team. Like, this is not a team where the best football that we see is what we're seeing right now. Like, the best football is ahead of them. And then you have a bunch of guys that weren't developed, weren't in the right shape. Like, the strength and conditioning wasn't great last few years. So you add all that together, this is a team that's not going to blow out people. This isn't a team that's going to look like a top 10, top 15 team in college football. This is a team that is trying to become that. And I think fans do need to lower their expectations. But yeah, they won the games they have to win. And like we pointed out, the garbage time touchdown was the garbage time touchdown. Who cares? So I definitely really liked what I saw from that. And look, the penalties are getting cleaned up. The Great Walls is doing a good job. Let's see what they do. I mean, we got a couple of big games going against West Virginia and North Carolina. So let's move on to Ravens and Steelers on week 1, and we can preview week 2. What were your thoughts? You're on.
Yeah, my mic's muted. Sorry. So, like, you caught some of the end of that. Steelers.
Yeah.
That was just a crazy game against the Bengals. A game that the Steelers probably should have won in regulation. They came down to the final play. I don't know why they had single coverage on Jamar Chase at that point. That just made no sense. And then Minkah Fitzpatrick was able to block the extra point. I don't think I've really seen. Honestly, I was watching in the airport. I turned it off after Jamar Chase scored because they're just going to make the extra point. The game's over with no time left. And then I'm scrolling Twitter just like, okay, maybe something happened. And all of a sudden someone goes, LOL, it's blocked. I'm like, wait, what? It's blocked. And then someone else tweeted it. And I saw the replay. I'm like, oh my God, I have to turn this game back on now. And excuse me. And it's just, and then overtime comes and, they don't do anything on the first possession. And the Bengals, they miss the field goal because their long snapper is not there. Then the Steelers miss a field goal with Chris Boswell. Then the Bengals don't do anything. And then the Steelers get it back. Looks like it's going to end in a tie. And then Boswell redeems himself and makes the 53-yarder. It had everything. Joe Burrow, let's face it, he looked bad. He looked really, really bad in that game. And I think if people might have been overrating it. I don't, it's hard to say that because, it is only one game, but there's a chance that people could be overrating him coming into the season just because he had one good year in the NFL. I mean, Zach Taylor, I thought was kind of cowardly on some calls in that game. The Bengals defense, it's solid, but I don't know if it's, that good. They have good weapons on offense with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. But, I look a few other teams in the AFC higher than them. And, they couldn't even beat a Steelers team led by Mitch Trubisky, who basically could not do anything offensively when they were given so many opportunities by the defense. The Steelers defense had 7 sacks, 5 turnovers. They were just destroying the Bengals offensive line and Joe Burrow all game. So, I was really happy with that part of the performance. I do think offensively they need to clean stuff up. I want to see them use Trubisky's legs a lot more. They were not doing that for some reason against the Bengals. I want to see them, do some more play action bootlegs, just more play action in general. I think, Trubisky, I think, had some happy feet in the pocket. He wasn't stepping into his throws. He also just looked nervous. I think it must have been like the pregame, like the first game jitters, something like that. But I want that out of his game. That's for sure. But, obviously the big talking point indeed is going to be the loss of TJ Watt. Thank God it's only for 6 weeks. So with that, what's tomorrow, September 18th? He should be back by Halloween, somewhere around there. That's a big deal. That this could have been a lost season for him at only 1 weekend, especially after he just won the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year last year. But he got lucky and it was only a partial tear, so he'll be able to come back. He was a menace in that game against the Bengals. It'll have to be up to Alex Highsmith now to really get things going, and then Minkah Fitzpatrick, he'll have to continue to do his stuff in the backfield. In the backfield.
Who's the third pass rusher?
Believe it's Malik Davis from Denver who they got. I think that's his name. So he's I think going to be taking Watt's place. So the defense obviously is going to like not be as good. Absolutely, I mean you don't just replace TJ Watt, but I think they'll be able to at least do a decent job. Where
against the Patriots with
yeah, I mean they're playing the Patriots. I don't really think the Patriots are that good at it. I personally think I don't. I mean I think Mac Jones is fine. Obviously, Bill Belichick is a great coach. I will never.
Oh, who's the offensive coordinator? Who's the defensive coordinator? I mean, some of those formations, some of those formations looked as vanilla as we saw from Virginia Tech's offense last few years. I mean, that's how bad they were.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, it's not that good. Those are not that good of coordinators, and their talent, it's not what it used to be. I know they made the playoffs last year, but I don't know if they'll get in this year. They looked bad against the Dolphins of all teams. I know the Dolphins have some talent, but you're only scoring 7 points on them. Like, I don't know. I mean, Mac Jones definitely, I think, is a bit banged up going into this game. He has a little bit of a back injury. I know he's good to play, but I know he's probably not 100%. I think the Steelers, they can definitely win this game. Despite not having Watt, and I know it's their home opener, they can win this game and go to 2-0 because, and they actually have an opportunity here to start out well because next Thursday, they play Thursday Night Football against the Cleveland Browns without who? Deshaun Watson. I'm not trying to look too far ahead, but there's a potential chance for a 3-0 start there, even though they don't have TJ Watt. So, the schedule is, opening up some favors. I think they have the Jets. After that, they may not have Zach Wilson back, but I think they might because he's already back practicing, but I'm not sure. But, it was a win that I did not expect them to get, but now it opens up a lot of other possibilities, even though Watt is not there. I want the offense to be cleaned up a little bit, more play action, better run fits. I want some better play calling with Matt Canada's situations and that kind of stuff. But, again, I think for the game against New England, that's a game they should win. I'm not really too impressed with Mac Jones and them overall. But that's that on the Steelers. What were your thoughts on the Ravens from week 1 and going into week 2?
I thought I would avoid the injury news, but Juwan James,
Nope.
Achilles out for the year. Kyle Fuller, ACL out for the year.
What's old is new again.
Yeah, but I mean the good news is apparently Dobbins has been practicing full practice multiple days in a row. Ronnie Stanley has been practicing. Marcus Peters has been practicing multiple days in a row. So we might start to see those guys start to come back. I mean, they've definitely been playing safe for these guys, which is good. About the game against the Jets, I mean, it's the Jets, but I thought they did a good job. Because I remember last year Roman saying stuff about how he wanted the quarterbacks to play under center more and less shotgun snaps. We clearly saw that. If you saw the game, they did that way more. There were some bootlegs that they were doing more often. So they definitely were. They are starting to implement that offense they wanted to have last year before all the injuries. But the problem, and not the problem, but you also got to consider their starters didn't play in preseason, so they were sluggish in the first half. Then they started playing better in the second half. So that's kind of explained the slow start there. A little disappointed by Likely. Devin Duvernay, great game, 2 catches. Bateman, Duvernay, 2 touchdown catches. Bateman, 1 touchdown catch. Like what I saw there. The interior D line is a beast, and that's without Travis Jones. And for the game against Miami, one of the things the Ravens have done the last this offseason was pay Marcus Williams a lot of money to be a free safety. By the way, got an interception, did a good job there. And then they went out and drafted Kyle Hamilton, who's a rangy guy. And the biggest difference between the safety room this year than last year, these guys have more range. So when you are dealing with the speed that the Dolphins present, the Ravens played more zone coverage than they play in the last few years, versus man coverage, which when you are dealing with speedier receivers, playing zone coverage, playing no doubles defense, whatever you want to call it. It's definitely going to help. And because if you do have those outside corners, it does give you that range, does give you that turn that one-on-one coverage to two-on-one coverage, the multiple looks, all that stuff is there. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. The Dolphins put their right tackle on. They said he's not going to be playing, which when you're dealing with a left-handed quarterback in Tua, the right tackle is the blindsider protector, unlike most teams. So I think that's going to hurt them. So we'll see what they do. It's definitely a big game. I think obviously people are talking about the cover zero that the Dolphins ran last year. This is a big game for Kenny and Drake. This is a big game because I don't think Dobbins will be a big part. And I think Mike Davis is more of your in between the lineman tackle inside the power run. So getting Kenny and Drake in space and getting them to spread out is going to be pretty big. Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens. I don't know if they will win or not, but we'll see what they do. It's going to be how do you handle that speed? Can you neutralize that speed? And can you force Waddle and Hill to be more of how do I say? You want them to make the first move. You don't want the defense to make the first move. So if they are making a slant or if they're doing a double move, you want to keep that in front of you and then react off that. So it's gonna be slowing the game down for safeties. It's gonna be speeding it up. It's going to be those run plays on the outside to beat the blitz. But other than that, I mean that's gonna be what's pretty interesting. Rest of the NFL. What were your thoughts on that? Mute.
Every time. Just a wild week in the NFL. I mute myself to cough because I'm not 100% yet.
Right.
Just a ridiculously wild week. That tie in the Texans-Colts game was crazy. I was catching some of the that Browns-Panthers game was awesome. Was catching a little bit of that. I think the Raiders game was pretty solid too. Was a little surprised that the Vikings just dominated the Packers like that. That was a little weird, if you ask me. The Chiefs just absolutely crushed the Cardinals. Wonder how Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury are doing out there after that one. That was interesting to say the least. And then this past week, even I was watching the UVA game. That Chargers Chiefs game on Thursday was really good. That was the Chargers kind of chargered it away because that's what they've always done, I think, throughout their history. But Patrick Mahomes is basically just a cheat code. I think they're still probably the favorites to come out of the AFC again when he's playing at this level. The Bills looked really good in Week 1. I thought, especially when I was in Aruba about 9 days ago. They're going to be a hassle for a lot of people. The Cowboys didn't look that good, and it's going to get worse now for Dak Prescott being out. I thought the Bucs were fine, but just a really fun, solid week of football. It's great to have it back, and we're already down to Week 2 now, dude. Before you know it, it's probably going to be Week 6. Then it's going to be Week 10. This stuff is going to fly on by, man. It's nuts. It really, really is. So, I'm just excited for more games tomorrow. Did you have any other thoughts about the Week 1 games?
No, I think you covered the one about what I was going to say about the Bengals, about how they may have been how teams may have overrated them. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what the Cowboys do with no Dak Prescott for the next few weeks. We'll see. And then, I mean, obviously injuries are a big story. Aaron Rodgers needs to build that rapport with the receivers because if he doesn't, I don't know how far this Packers team will go. The Bills look like the team to beat in the AFC. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's not a bad take. I mean, either the Chiefs or the Bills. I mean, I think the Bills can beat them in the playoffs, though. I mean, they should have beat them this past year.
Yeah, and then it's really interesting because it's still only Week 1. I mean, we still have no idea Let's wait a week. Let's wait a couple weeks before we make some more assessments. Um, and then yeah, that's nothing really earth shattering after that point. So we'll end the show at that point. At this point, we'll be back next week. Around this time, hopefully both of us will be feeling a little bit better when it comes to our voices. And then we'll recap the West Virginia game for Virginia Tech, West Virginia, and then we're going to go recap week 2, and then preview the remainder of week 3, minus the Steelers and Browns game.
Yep, that sounds good. Yeah, we'll see you all next week.